Hello, hello. Good day. Good 75 day. Day 75. So much energy in motion. Okay. So this is day 75 of me, Sarah Marie, on my Indiana Jones-like adventure for human potential. This is my last reincarnation on planet Earth. I know that with a fact. I'm done with this place. So I'm going to do this a home run. The final chapter is going to be a fantastic experience. I think that is what my soul is trying to communicate to me, that we are going for this one, babe. So this move is this shift of environment is a very, very big piece of that puzzle, because it's the energetic shift that we have been waiting for. And the work that we've done, the very, very profound internal work that me and Simba, my husband, has done the past 9 years, has been in very close proximity with other people. So we've been living with our clients, we've been living very close together, and we're married, and we live and work together all the time. So for the first time, we are moving into a place where we have space. No one else but us and the staff. But we are really minimizing the level of help and support that we need in order to be able to be alone as much as possible. And also Simba and I are getting very nice spaces for ourselves, so we can cocoon our energy, so we don't have to be in each other's energy all the time. So basically we've been in a contraction state for 9 years, basically, on that level. So there's different energetic levels and aspects, and we are constantly like moving and massaging different areas of ourselves. So in that aspect, that has been in contraction for a long time on an environment aspect. So that's going to shift something very deep inside of us. And also it's the end of a 9-year cycle, and it's the beginning of something new. So there's so many transitions and moving parts in this. We are leaving our retreat space fully behind. We are changing our setup completely. And this is going to move a lot of energy and free a lot of energy and also propel a lot of energy. So this is very exciting. So tomorrow is moving day. And today we're just doing, this place is becoming empty. I'm just keeping this frame, and there's just, chaos on the other side. And so tomorrow we move, because we move the internet tomorrow. So tomorrow I could go live very early and just keep this set up and then just let it fly, and then I'm done for tomorrow. However, I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel like I'm starting the day in the correct way, and I feel like I'm forcing something. So tomorrow I'm going to leave it up to I'm letting go of control for tomorrow. So tomorrow is I have no clue when or how the live is going to happen. Make sure that if we have internet over there, but I can always go just from my phone. So, it will be all right. But I'm letting go of control of that. So it feels like I'm living in two energies at the same time. It's the old and the new, and it's like, it's such a strong emotional roller coaster, and it's really swaying the bowl, and the emotion that comes are very strong but very quick, and then they disappear again. So it's like, it's this, I'm just experiencing a lot of emotions, and there's memories, and there's grief for this, and there's hope for that, and then there's the disappointment of this, and then it's the excitement of that. So it's a very, very interesting process. And today we're going to talk about, so the topic for today is compassion, because the compassion is the wave of energy that I'm starting to feel, that is coming, and I felt it coming for quite a long time. And then I also did a session yesterday on the topic of compassion, which, so the timing is, you know, it's just, these things just keep on happening, that the timing of things are extraordinary. And there's so many other extraordinary synchronicities around the date that we are moving. And, you know, I get this information, and then okay, so when is that happening? Yeah, on the 18th. Like, oh, okay, of course. There's just so much emotion, and that's expected. And I'm very excited about that, because I have a feeling of what it's about to happen. But I mean, I'm not sure I can just predict. I can just share how it feels in my body. And it feels like something is opening up. So I feel like I'm in two realities at the same time, which is very exciting. So the compassion is the frequency of of how we move and operate. So compassion is an action. For me, compassion is an action, and it's a state. It's like a state of the heart. For me, compassion is also Christ consciousness. And the compassion is so what compassion means for me is that the event that happens in itself is neutral. If something happens, if there's a mistake that happens, or there's a confrontation that happens, or there's something difficult happening that causes people to have stirred emotion, and they act from those emotions. Compassion for me is being able to look at the situation neutrally and realize that the reaction that comes from another person, including myself, is based on our previous experiences that we've had in the world. It's about where we come from, the cultural imprints that we have. It's the family imprints. So we are formed in different ways, and the way that we are formed from birth and, you know, beyond. So we come with different setups. We come with settings. We are the same, but we have different settings, and that's what makes us unique. And we have our DNA, and we have imprints. So we're so multifaceted, all of us. And if you and I would walk into a movie, or we would have an experience together, or we would have a trauma together, all of these experiences, we would have very much, even though we had the same experience, our experience, our individual experience would be completely different. They would never be the same. So the way that we act and respond to the events that are happening They are based on our previous events. Compassion is understanding that. So then when we meet people who are having strong reactions or are having opposite reactions than maybe I have, it's having the compassion to understand that where are they coming from? And if people are behaving in a very negative way, that is usually because they are hurt. So people who hurt other people are hurt people. That is the compassion. To understand that even people who make mistakes are hurt people. And it all comes from hurt. And the only thing that can heal that type of hurt is compassion and love. Because if there is no forgiveness, there is no point of return. Then we are doomed. If I made a mistake that is impossible to repair, then there's no hope for me. Then there's no return. I don't believe that the universe works that way. And that compassion that is why I believe that love, this makes me a little bit emotional actually. That love is the highest organizing power. And if love is the highest organizing power, the door is never closed. And to me, that's so beautiful. There's so much freedom in that. Because if you've been in a very dark place, then you know that it's never too late. That you can always find your way back. And the love and compassion is what makes that possible. Now I forgot I need to check if the sound is on. Oh, it is. Oh, it is. What a relief. Can you see the contrast? Amazing. So, compassion is the way that we, in my opinion, is the gateway. And it has to start with a compassion for ourselves. Because if we don't have compassion for ourselves, we are unable to give compassion for others. So, on that note, we are going to reply to a question in the 108 days. Because, let's see. So the question goes, can you please help me with a mirroring question? I noticed that it bothered me that you didn't go live yesterday after it was discovered that the sound was missing. The last time it happened, you went live and talked about it. I noticed how I thought about it during the day yesterday and how it changed during the day, how I wanted to look at the matter. At first, I was bothered when I saw that you only commented on it on the in the Telegram group. Then I noticed that you didn't like my reaction, or that I didn't like my reaction, and started explaining to myself that you were in the middle of a move and that it was understandable that you wouldn't have to spend that time having to go in and make a post on YouTube about it because of that. And when I listened to episode 74 this morning, I noticed that it started to bother me again. And that's why I want help and see if it's a reflection of something I don't understand. I absolutely didn't want to write this because I didn't want everyone to see how I thought. Because I thought everyone would think it was really poorly thought out and reacted. But now I'm writing it anyway, because if it's a reflection, I want to learn so I can develop further from this. Okay, so first of all, this is absolutely phenomenal. What a phenomenal question. And I want to applaud you for that courage. However, I don't see this as a strange question at all, or strange reaction at all. This is why we are doing this, and this is why you are posting in the group, because this is how we deal with things. So I think that's phenomenal. So the event in itself is neutral. But there's a response to it. So I've taken the time today to really break this down. And we're going to go through this. So we're going to use this response, this question, as a practice response, or an opportunity for a question, that we can break it down. So the backstory is that I go live 108 days in a row, and sometimes the sound just doesn't fly. It's random. All my settings are the same always. I spoke to it the other day. I think it's like all the AIs are just overriding each other's settings, and I think there's something like that because I'm noticing other glitches. Irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant to the matter. So the honesty is number one. The fact that you had a reaction. So the other day there was no sound, and that happened another day before. So, and I responded to those events differently. So it's not unexpected that there would be a response to that. So I'm 100% aware of what I'm doing and the reactions that can follow. So very nice that you picked up on this switch in energy, and that you responded to that and gave me this opportunity. So thank you for that. I'm very excited about this. So I notice my energy rise. So I'm deliberately slowing it down. So the first thing I want to talk about is the nervous system. It's a completion loop. What happens in the nervous system? So when we follow something regularly, like these lives, the nervous system begins to expect, and it starts to create an expectation of completion. And last time I had a loop that wasn't closed, and the live having no sound is one of those loops that aren't able to close, because I'm dedicated to showing up 108 days. And I mean, I showed up, so I did my part. The technology that day did not do its part, but I showed up. So I have showed up for 108 days. Last time that this happened, I don't even remember exactly how I did it. If I did another live the same day, I might have done that. I think I did that. I probably did that. I didn't go back and check, but that's what I don't remember. I don't pay attention. I mean, yeah, you know me by now. And that's how I closed the loop last time. So now there's an expectation in the nervous system that this time the loop needs to be changed the same way. So this is not a behavioral pattern. This is a nervous system pattern. The nervous system is looking for that same kind of loop. But this time I didn't do that, because We are moving through the days. So I'm expecting, we've been working with the pressure, we've been working with the teachings. So now I created more pressure to hold in the nervous system because there was a void in that day. That creates the void space in the nervous system. And you're having a reaction to that. Completely normal. So the mind starts to put an idea. So the mind, you have the nervous system that there's an unfinished loop in this expectation of the 108 days. And then the mind goes, but you did that the last time, so now you have to do the last time. You need to do. The mind tries to control and tries to, put things in order. It's trying to, pull things. It's using its power and it's convincing the body to play along. So now the mind is saying, like, she needs to do that she needs to go back and do that again. Why didn't you? Normal mind behavior from a normal nervous system reaction. So if we look at ourselves with compassion, I had a nervous system loop that wasn't closed, and the mind started saying things about it. Absolutely normal. So let's move on. Let's see if we get to that one. Okay. So the expectations that are forming when we are in a routine. So any type of routine. So this is a slightly different aspect of the first one. So the routine in itself is an expectation, because there's an emotional investment. It's like a perceived, there's a pressure on me because I have committed to 108 days. There's a pressure on me to deliver those days. And that creates the emotional rhythm in the nervous system that we talked about. However, sorry. So when those things change, we change our behavior. And that expectation that's the one I wanted to talk about. Sorry. That expectation is completely understandable because I have made that promise. So it's not strange that there is an expectation on the receiving end. It should be, because if you're invested in the content, of course there's a expectation in the receiving end. And from my end, I want to do that 100%. However, my reaction and how I will operate within that will change, because not every day is the same, and that is not defined. We haven't defined the rules for what happened if the live went off, if the sound is not. We never spoke about those things, because it's a free thing that I'm delivering, and there's no. So if this would have been a paid project, if someone paid to sign up, then I would have agreed to certain things. Then the technicality of the process is, then because I promised to show up. That was my promise. And when it's a paid service, I promise to deliver something. So there's a slight, well, not a slight, there's a huge difference between a free offering and a paid offering in the level of commitment and in the level of pressure between the two parts. So if there's an energetical exchange, and that's why we spoke about the energetical exchange in one of the episodes, because that is a very, very big energetic, it's a big energy that is affecting the relationship, because there are a relationship, even if they are sort of invisible in this like in this setting. So the question that you can ask yourself, like, when we receive something freely every day, how do we hold that energetically? Like, what is my relationship with something that I'm offered freely? And that is also why people choose to pay for the I mean, that is why the payment is there, because when it's free, there's no pressure. The pressure is uneven, because if it's not paid for, then even if I committed to the 108 days and I wouldn't follow through, there would, I mean, that would be in my, I could do that if I wanted to. I'm not obliged to any contracts. I didn't go into agreement with anyone but myself on that level. And that is why a lot of people prefer to pay for services instead of receiving them freely, because then there's an agreement. Then I know, because I'm investing in this free thing, and there's no security for me that this person actually is going to show up, because there's no energetic exchange. So if let's say something really dramatic happened in my life in any shape or form, the first thing that, if I would have to cut something, it would be this one, because it's the least level of commitment. If I had to scale back on my commitments. So that shows, like, if I want something from someone that is really important for me, and then taking it for free is usually not a good idea, because there's no energetic balance. So this is a very, just an interesting way of looking at the energetics that is happening. And so when we receive something free every day, how would we hold that energetically? So we can either hold it with gratitude, curiosity, and openness, or expectation, evaluation, and building up a subtle demand. And that is where the mind comes in, and the nervous system comes in. So the nervous system, so if I would follow someone for 108 days that would show up like this, and I really enjoyed the content, I would also be bothered that I would be bothered by not, I would feel a bit vulnerable in that, because if I really liked it, I would really love for them to continue. And I would know that it's a free, if it's a free thing, that I know that's the least stable of the services that is offered, because anything can happen with the free offer. But if I'm paying for that service, that's a different thing. However, the nervous system is going to build up that subtle demand. So we know that we can't demand anything because it's free. So we know that. However, the body is not operating on that level. It will still build up the demand. And then the mind is that's where it's going to be, okay, how does that present itself? So it's nothing strange that the nervous system builds up the demand. It's what do we make of that demand? How does that express itself in our reality? And then the mind will add a layer of something. And that's where it's, okay, is it compassionate or is it demanding? And even if I pay for a service, this is where I need to, you know, am I operating with compassion or demand when I'm a paid client, when I'm paying for a service? And then it becomes, you know, who am I and how I operate the world, and what do I then we start to talk about values. So that's why this situation and this discussion and this format is so interesting when these things start to arise. And this is part of the process. This is nothing strange at all. And the fact that someone takes the opportunity to ask the question, because and first saying that, oh, this is embarrassing. At first I didn't want to post it, but then no, that's not the space that we have created here, and that's what we've been talking about. And that is why it's so interesting that the topic of compassion comes up today when this question arises, because the compassion has to lead. And there's nothing wrong with this question. There's nothing wrong with the behavior. It's absolutely normal human behavior. But there's an aspect of shame and embarrassment in showing who we are and not standing in the truth. However, when the desire to learn becomes stronger than the embarrassment, that's when the change starts to happen. And that's where real courage is formed. And I think that's why I was, you know, a bit emotionally charged, because the level of freedom in breaking and that's also why I decided to go live, to show myself. I got lost here for a little bit. I don't, if someone's going to judge me for that, they're not my people. This is not my people. So go ahead, you know. If we are so afraid of being judged and so afraid of being projected on and being, it's just, I just can't live like that anymore. I just can't live like that anymore. And I feel like that is a big part of what this environment shift and my own personal, you know, process is taking me, that I'm just done with that. And that's why this type of question really inspires me. That's why I took a long time to just break it down and look at the different aspects. And I, you know, I haven't prepared like this for any of the other sessions, any of the other sessions. This, I mean, this is like how I would prepare for a client. Like I take my time, because it's such an important aspect. And I have the space for it. I wanted to do it and I have the space for it today. I created the space for it today. I even miss Simba's breathwork session now. And that's fine. I want to do this because it's important to me, because it's part of my, that's why I mean, like it's an exact transition of what's happening. But if we don't have compassion for ourselves, then there's this shame and there's this embarrassment, and not understanding that we are operating on a fully normal human behavior. So it's not about having these processes in the body. It's what do I do with them? Do I project on someone else? Do I project negativity, or do I look at myself in the mirror? And that is what you did. I mean, and we are talking about we're going through the pillars, like the truth. We have to look at the truth and respect the truth and honor the truth for what it is. And then, so if you bring in the layer of compassion here on for yourself on every level, and then how would, so I'm just sharing the different aspects, and then you will, just by looking at this and watching this, you will have, that will trigger, this will trigger a lot of things for you. And that's the point, because it's not about the sound of the YouTube. That has nothing to do with it. That's just the little thing that triggered it. That's a completely neutral event. It has nothing to do with it. It's just what happened to trigger this conversation. So then, so this is a live representation of the teachings that I've been teaching for the past 70 days or so about multiple truths, contrast, and the ability to look at a challenge or a situation, and this is what I mean, like I pause it and I look at the different aspects, and this is what I do. I take a situation, I break it down, I take the individual thing, I look at it, next, 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 okay, this is what's going on. So this is why I'm breaking it down for you, what's going on. And this is how I work with my clients. And this is why people, love to have me on Telegram, because then these are the type of conversations, and they are like, this is what happened. And I go, okay, give me a moment. And then I look at it, I break it down, and I present it back to them, what's actually going on. And then we fill it with what's actually there. So if we look at how you reacted, then there's a two level of your reaction. The first reaction, first we have the reaction itself. And then you went into compassion and understanding. But the compassion was that I'm moving. So that was the mind found something to kind of, so the body wants to go to compassion. So the heart wants to go to compassion. And then, so the mind wants to go to all of these different things. And there's the reaction, because there is a reaction in the nervous system, and then the mind starts to make sense of it. And then the heart takes over. So there's the mind and the heart thing. So the mind like, and the heart goes, but wait a minute, because there's something the body can feel. And this is where the paid content and the free content and all of that comes in. That's the real energetic exchange. And the heart kind of knows that. The body knows that maybe this is maybe maybe there's just no leverage for the demands that I'm making here. Hey, mind, you're making demands that can we look at this? I don't think we have leverage on this one. There's no business to stand on here. Mind. Heart goes, I think there's, this compassion. And then mind go, okay, compassion. Yeah, she's moving. Yeah. Heart goes, yes. Okay, she's moving. Yeah, I understand that there's no room, there's no space for that. Yes, we can have compassion for that. Yeah, okay. But I think somewhere along the line, you also knew that wasn't the 100% correct answer. And I feel, because I've been observing you now for a while, I feel that you've made so much progress over because you've been in the Swedish group as well, and I've seen you over the years. So you're making so much progress, and now you're coming to the thing that is the real key, and that's the awareness. And the awareness doesn't trust the mind, and it trusts the heart, but it also knows that the heart is compromised. We don't live fully from the heart. If the heart would lead, we wouldn't be in these situations, So the awareness, the self, the higher self, there's there's something else here. And I mean, she's opening up the space here, and it seems to be, and the nervous system kind of says, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been good so far. The way that I've been, she's been responding to me in a good way, and I feel safe enough to, we can stick our neck out here. I think the reward will be bigger than the risk. I think something good will come out of here, and I'm tired of I'm tired. Horse year, everyone. Giddy up and let's get seen and see what happens, because fuck it. Let's go. I want to learn. So when that, can you sense the energy in that? Can you sense that that's the horse here of being brave and courageous, and like, who cares? It will be fine. Let's go. That's the energy. So I really want to mirror that back to you, that's what you're doing. And you're like, when we can get over the embarrassment, because as long as we are not unkind to other people, as long as we are not leading with, why didn't you go live? I'm bothered by this. You should do this. You should do that. Like, as long as we don't lead with negative opinions, because negative opinions is just not gonna, they're not, showcasing negative opinions is the first. It's like you play chess, you are white, you start, and you showcase, I want an argument. That's what that means. I want to argue. I want conflict, and I want separation, and I have a stress in my nervous system that I need to put on the world because I am unable to hold it by myself. That is when people lead with, negative opinions. It's an opinion. It's one truth. It doesn't matter. And you lead with it negatively, then, that's just the repellent. And bringing compassion. Hurt people operate out of hurt. However, we have to have the awareness to take that accountability for ourselves. That is the only way. That's the only way. And that's what you're doing. Hey, here's my stuff, because I don't judge. That's not, I mean, that's what I do every day. Look at my crap, at like, here I did this, here I did that. And the compassion is like, without the compassion, who are we even, it's not even possible. So why the feeling returned is because the mind resolves faster than the nervous system. So the mind, it can understand, but then the nervous system, it takes a little bit of convincing, and it's trust. It's a deeper imprint. The mind, we can change our mind. I mean, some people are very stubborn in the mind, but we can change our mind pretty quickly if we get new information. But the nervous system works slower. So there's a deeper imprint. So maybe after this session, you will feel, or most likely you will feel different. I mean, I don't know what you're going to feel, but you will probably feel different, because we're moving a lot of energy. We're shifting aspects, we're shifting nervous system, we're shifting all of the things. So the reflective questions that you could look at, or anyone who thinks that this was an interesting thing, where do I expect things to resolve in a certain way? What is my expectations of these closing loops? Like so chaos and mistakes, and it's the same thing. It's when someone has a negative experience of life in connection with someone else. So where are we putting our expectations of how energy is going to play out, how situations are playing out? If life is a number of, if it's the pinball game, didn't we talk about that sometimes? Like, where am I placing my expectations? My expectations. Where am I trying to control the universe? Where are you playing God? I mean, that's the when I realized that, like, oh my God, who am I to try to control these events? And how do you react when something changes unexpectedly? That's one of the biggest things. No, was not a biggest thing. It was a big thing when I well, the first year that I was here, when I was living with a shaman, and that, I mean, I was purging, just purging imprints and expectations. And one of the things was when the thing that I had a very big difficulty, and then I saw that every Westerner that came through the door had the exact same experience. And that is, what happens when plans change unexpectedly? Because I was so used to, if we say that we are going shopping tomorrow at 3 p.m., we are going shopping tomorrow at 3 p.m., whether my life depended on it. Like, no matter what happened, I would be there. I mean, we are very close to the Germans, structure and timing and punctuality, and, just very square, very, very, very square. And then I end up, on the other spectrum where things flow all the time and change all the time. And that was so hard for me. And once I let that go, my world just, I felt like, and that was one of the biggest things that I learned. That was very early on in the journey, just a month or two in, I learned that. And I just felt, wow, that in itself just, it just felt I got this much space. And I was like, wow, I'm free. And these big realizations for me just, I mean, that I was sold. So it didn't have to do anything with that. It was ayahuasca in the beginning, and now it's like God. But it's more about that my body could realize I can make this change. And that realization didn't come from 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 the plant medicine. I mean, that was on my own journey. I realized that. But what played out? I mean, that's another discussion. Let's not. I noticed the feeling that I could just change, and then I'm just like, that's when I realized I'm going for the win on this one. Okay, so and also another question, do I feel uncomfortable with unfinished loops? And that is where the pressure is built. And pressure is the key to most things that you want. Being able to hold the pressure of unfinished loops, of the void, of the space in between, when things aren't solid, when we are wondering, when we are like this. How comfortable do you feel, and how well are you able to hold that pressure? Capacity. Gateway to everything. And the final question, how do I relate to receiving something freely? So look at those four questions. So part of this process is to show the real process, the imperfection. This is the imperfection that I've been talking about. There's no such thing as perfection. It's only about what do we do when are we able to hold the pressure of the negativity that arises in our body, or are we able, do we project it on ourselves? Do we project it on anyone else? Are we projecting it on the world? Where are you dumping your trash? That is the key. Can you hold the pressure of your trash and, vomit in your own bathroom and take care of your own stuff? Or do we have to go and spread it to the world? And we're not perfect in that process. We all, sprinkle because we're not perfect. And we're not supposed to be, but the awareness is, oh, I'm okay. Yeah, okay, I'll bring that back. And then I alchemize it myself. And we're not perfect. I mean, I made tons of mistakes. Again, the compassion. What if there's no compassion? Then the gate is closed. And that's where Christ consciousness and I'm grabbing that's where the God, that's what they represent to me. The unconditional love, that there's always a way back. And then I get emotional again. Because without it, I wouldn't be back. So that's why I'm so grateful for the hard times, because that's what I found. So how can I not be compassionate for myself, for the hard times that I've been through? So these situations are just smaller aspects of the same thing. And without compassion, I don't know. I think the compassion is there's a part of humanity that is very beautiful. Very, very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. Our ability to, that just what cracks me open every time. Our ability to come together and, that's part of why I'm doing this. It's a gift to the world. So I'm so happy that this space is helping you and that you feel comfortable enough to ask me these questions. I honor that deeply and I respect that a lot. And I am aware that this type of conversation could look very differently in another space. So I see that, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you for building this space together with me, you and everyone else. And this was a big session. I could feel it, because it's much bigger than just the question itself. I could feel it. I mean, it's almost an hour. I haven't done a long stream in a long time, so there's definitely something that wanted to come through. And Simba wasn't home. He was in the city this morning, and for some reason I couldn't start before he was home, and I was starting to feel all these fears, and I was like, what is going on here? And this is why I mentioned that there's just so much strong emotions. And then I was okay, I waited, and then he came back, and I went to see him, and we chatted, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna go do my live now. And then I sat down because I didn't want him to interrupt. There was something about I didn't want to be interrupted. Then I sat down and I still couldn't start. I was like, what's happening? What's happening? And the space that we live in now is very small. And that's why this move is going to be absolutely brilliant. I hear something in the window. and I, because I didn't start, I just like, what's going on? And then I see Simba's on the way through the window. And I'm like, what are you doing? And it was like, I forgot my computer and I thought you started your live. And I And I was like, okay, so this was the this was what I was waiting for. I knew there was something coming, and I broke down laughing. And there was so much pressure inside of me before the session. I was just like, what is all this pressure? And that released through this ginormous laughter. And then I just pressed play and we started. So I just feel like everything is closing cycles at the moment. So thank you for a great session. And yeah, see you in the Telegram group. Open for anyone. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. If you have questions, drop them in the Telegram chat. Sending you lots of love. See you tomorrow for day 76. Time is running out, dudes. I am sensing a very interesting wrap up of this experiment because I'm starting to I have this thing about not speaking to what's coming, but I just can't. Oh, good morning. Aren't you in class? Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh no. Oh yes, not speaking to what's coming. I don't know why I have a huge hesitation to that, because what if it doesn't happen? So anyway, I'm going to change so much in the wrapping up of these days. This move is going to change so much. I'm gonna go all in from the right energy. I'm gonna be very focused. The horse here. I'm going to share more about this, but I've wanted to have 1 year to really focus on myself. That's this year. Finally. I'm going to talk about that another day. Okay. Ciao. Ciao. Bye.